You have never learned how to think. You have never been free, only allowed to think that you are, because the most hazardous type of slavery is invisible, scrolling, buying, obeying, not because you are weak, but conditioned. This isn't a conspiracy. This is the system, and you are going through it. Now ask yourself this: if your thoughts aren't actually your own, then who is in control? Picture waking up one day and realizing that every choice you have made, every product you have bought, every belief you have held, every relationship you have pursued was put in your mind without you realizing. Not by accident, by design. This isn't science fiction. This is actual recorded psychological warfare. And this didn't begin with TikTok. This started decades ago when a man named Edward Bernays, who happened to be Sigmund Freud's nephew, discovered a bloody awful truth. You do not have to control people through force. You just have to control their desire. And ever since that day, governments, corporations, and media conglomerates have militarized the subconscious. They have built an intangible prison, not of bars and chains, but of thoughts, fears, pleasures, and distractions. And honestly, the sad thing is, the people in that cage, they want to stay in there. In this video, we are going to reveal the actual architecture of collective mind control. Not the surface-level theories, the deep-level psychological mechanisms that are being used to construct your beliefs, feelings, and actions. Because if you don't understand how the system works, you are the system. The birth of mind control. In 1929, during Easter in New York, dozens of elegantly dressed women lit up cigarettes publicly. So shocking at the time that it was national news. They called them torches of freedom, a radical emblem of women's liberation. But this wasn't feminism, it was a setup. The mastermind of that headline stunt was Edward Bernays, the man who would become the father of modern propaganda. Edward Bernays was hired by the American Tobacco Company, and he used his uncle Freud's theories of the unconscious to manipulate public perception. He didn't sell cigarettes, he sold identity. You're not smoking, he inferred you're wielding your power. And it worked. Sales surged. But more importantly, a precedent was set. If you could attach a product to a feeling, desire, or social movement, then you could manipulate an entire population of people without them ever being aware of it. This was the dawn of something Bernays named the engineering of consent, a process so powerful and significant it ushered in every conceivable variety of media manipulation thereafter. From TV to Hollywood, politics to pharmaceuticals, everything we see today is based on that same psychological formula. Don't sell the truth, sell the dream. Trigger the unconscious. Look, mind control doesn't have to be dystopian. It can take the form of fashion trends, viral challenges, freedom slogans. It can look like empowerment, even rebellion. But when rebellion is scripted, you were never free. Digital domination. If Bernays had the radio and the newspaper to be concerned about today's engineers of consent, have something much more frightening. Your phone. Every scroll, swipe, and notification is no coincidence. It is all intentional. Platforms such as Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube do not passively observe you. They actively study your behavior in real time. You are the commodity. Your data is the gasoline. Your brain is the battleground. Tristan Harris, a former Google design ethicist, highlighted this argument in The Social Dilemma. Tech companies do not compete for your money, they compete for your dopamine. There is a behavioral neuroscientist, marketer, and engineer behind every app designing products to ensure you are addicted, not entertained. They do not want to simply waste your time. They are hoping to colonize your mind. Why? Because the longer you are distracted, the less you will question, the less you read, the less you resist, the less you will become. You are being conditioned, not with chains, but with stimulation. 1,000 micro rewards a day. Endless entertainment designed to be more addictive than crack cocaine. You believe you have choice, but you are not making a choice. You are reacting. And here's the twist. Every trend you chase, every opinion you parrot, every viral story that just happened to spread like wildfire was always given to you. Because the digital space is not a marketplace of free ideas. It is an apparent illusion designed to influence your worldview, decrease your imagination, and cultivate obedience, all while you think you are creating. This isn't about products anymore. It's about programming. And the worst viruses are the ones you choose to download. Institutional indoctrination. If you consider social media the bait, then the education system is the cage. When you walk into a classroom, you don't get programmed to be empowered, but to be contained. You are not taught thinking skills. You are taught memorization, regurgitation, and compliance. The system doesn't want thinkers. The system wants compliant workers, just smart enough to operate the machine, but too programmed to ever question it. Ask yourself the following. Why is it that we rarely learn emotional intelligence, financial literacy, or how to manage our own minds in school? Why are history books sanitized in uncomfortable realities wrapped in obscurity? Why are ancient wisdoms helplessly deemed as pseudoscience while conforming stupidity gets rewarded with diplomas? It's simple. Because real education is dangerous. Because a mind that questions will not obey. Universities, once a sacred space for discussion, debate, and discovery, have been reduced to ideological echo chambers, compliant safe zones, factories which churn out credentials, all while burying independent thought. And this isn't an accident. This is by design. The goal is to drown the earth in credentialed ignorance. People willful enough to follow orders without the cognitive awareness to notice what system they serve. Even the material we engage with outside of the classroom is planned with infantilization. Turn on the television, look at the popular music or at what's trending on Netflix. They create for the emotional maturity of a 12-year-old. Simple heroes, simple plots, no nuance. Why? Because a dumbed-down populace is easier to rule. As Bernays wrote, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an essential element of democratic society. In other words, they're not hiding it, they just know that you won't look. Emotional weaponization, they don't have to control your logic if they already have ownership over your emotions. This is the next stage of control. And it's the stage most people never recognize. Because the war for your mind is not a battle of facts, it is a battle of feelings. Decades of behavioral neuroscience has given us evidence to support the idea that you don't make rational choices. You make emotional ones and rationalize your decisions afterwards. Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize-winning author of Thinking Fast and Slow, found that the brain uses automatic unconscious biases to make most decisions. The conscious mind? The conscious mind only gets involved in choice-making after choice has been made as a justification. And the engineers of consent? They created and perfected this error into a weapon. Modern advertising doesn't persuade, it triggers. When babies, soldiers, pets, flags, and sexuality flash by in images, they do not create decoration. They are emotional sand traps designed to hijack your unconscious mind. You think you chose this? You didn't. Your nervous system made that choice, and you followed. And this approach is deeper than just marketing. They sexualize everything. Why? Because unconscious sexual indulgence drains your energy faster, especially men's. Subscribe to the notion that porn, provocative media, and hypersexualized content all keep you welcome to stay locked in a state of lower chakras, the survival state. When your vital energy is leaking, your mental clarity collapses. You are losing willpower, discipline, and strength. You become docile. Women are the opposite. Their depth of sacred feminine energy is polluted and turned into an image, an object, a brand, an emotional void built on external validation and consumerism. This emotional disorientation creates the ideal subject, weak, reactive, anxious, and desperate to obey whatever will create the least amount of discomfort for as long as possible. And that is the game. Your emotions, your happiness, outrage, want, fear, are all converted to clicks, votes, and products. They do not need chains to enslave you. They only need to control what you feel. The matrix of dependency. Now that they control your thoughts and your feelings, the only thing left is your biology. Now we start to move into manipulation at a physical level, control of your body. And the first weapon? Pharmaceuticals. Big Pharma doesn't just sell pills, it sells a new definition of reality. Feeling sad? That's not human anymore. That's depression. Not socializing enough? That's anxiety. Can't take your eyes off the screen-drenched world you live in? That's ADHD. Any potential for a natural human response to an increasingly dysfunctional society is now pathologized, medicalized, and monetized. You aren't supposed to change. You are meant to be medicated. And this doesn't even touch the medicine. They are also using your food against you. And because you will defend how good it feels in the short run, you will never recognize it as a weapon. Your food is scientifically constructed to numb and weaken you, utilizing combinations of sugar, salt, and processed fat in perfect proportions. Please don't tell me we call this food. This is neurological warfare. You are kept in a constant state of mental haze, emotional inconsistency, physical fatigue, and they have the perfect environment to compel compliance. They don't need guards and fences. They only need you too tired to do anything. You see, this isn't just about profit. It's about dependence. Full, systemic, lifelong dependence on drugs, on food, on entertainment, on approval. And the brilliance is, you think it's your choice, but you are like the trained tiger in the circus, now don't need the whip. You perform on command, not because you're being forced, more like because you don't remember you were ever free. You've mastered the rules. You self-regulate, you self-medicate, you self-divert, and you call it free. That is the matrix, not a digital simulation, but a psychological prison made of your own habits, fears, and desires. The inner revolution. Now you see the game. The control was never just external. It was never just a corporation, a government, or an algorithm. The battlefield is your own mind. You were trained to obey, trained to be afraid of silence, trained to distract yourself, and trained to believe that being compliant with all of it was freedom. But here's what they cannot bury. You were born with a power they can't get to. The power to see your mind, to question what its script, to reprogram your thoughts, your feelings, your energy, and your life. You do not need to combative and riot against the system. Those were being co-opted by the system to give you the illusion of action while keeping you asleep. The revolution is quiet. It happens inside. Every time you choose awareness instead of reaction, every time you stop a damaging impulse, every time you walk away from faux validation, you are breaking the chain. You're becoming a conscious creator and not an unconscious consumer. And make no mistake, they can silence your words, shadow ban your voice, think they can change your identity. They cannot stop the natural rhythm of awakening that is growing across the planet. With every person who awakens, the illusion erodes. With every chain you break in yourself, one is being broken for humanity. Now I leave you with one last question. What type of tiger are you? The tiger that obeys because it was broken, or the tiger that remembers it's wild and breaks the cage from inside?